Welcome to our fourth session of our Peace Building Workshop series. Today, we are culminating our workshop series in what we call our Shareout. So today, we get to learn from you about your action plans and your work as peace builders. And this is a really important element of our workshop series for a lot of reasons. So you folks today become the teachers. You folks will be sharing with us and inspiring us with your innovative peace building actions. It's also a springboard for collaboration. So as you listen to today's presentations, think about what value support you can bring to your fellow peace builders' action plans. And finally, our Shareout is also an occasion to celebrate. Committing your weekends to us has not been easy. Being educators and being parents and being community members in the midst of a pandemic has not been easy. And building peace isn't always easy. So today, let's reward ourselves by treating today as a celebration and realize that because the work is so hard, we do need to rest, we do need to celebrate, we do need to compliment each other, and we do need to recharge before we get back to the hard work. So today is just an opportunity to do all of those things. As I've mentioned in the previous 3 workshops, this workshop series was made possible by the support of the Nale Aloha Foundation and the H.T. Hayashi Foundation. I'd also like to thank our awesome team of facilitators who you all have worked with already: Jose, Naomi, Brianna, Brad, Nicole, Holly, Joyce, and Sherry. Extra big thanks to Jose for being the host for today's session because my internet is so bad. And of course, thank you to our co-founders, Dr. Carrie Yarosevich and Dr. Maya Sotoro. Before we dive into our Shareout, I'd like to invite Maya and Carrie to say a few quick words.
Thank you, Scott. Maya, would you like to start?
Sure. Aloha, everyone. I am so delighted. This is my favorite day because this is where we get to see the things that you've been working on. And I want you to feel no pressure, but a lot of pride. And we know that the work isn't finished, that many of these action plans are still being sort of rounded out, developed, deepened, but we also know and hope that you feel more empowered, more excited, delighted about the prospects of peace building in your own lives, in your own communities, with the resources you have around you and with one another. I wanted on this day to share this passage from Sharon Salzberg. I don't know if you folks know her. I think she's a Buddhist monk. And we lost one of my favorite spiritual leaders yesterday, Thich Nhat Hanh, who Martin Luther King nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and who was a really beautiful, gentle man, and a very soft and tender one. And there was such strength in him. So this passage is sort of to honor his life, but also to have us think about the work of peace building. It's called Soft and Strong. When I want to summon strength and power in the midst of awfulness and hate, I contemplate water. Our ideas of strength so often surround images of things that are hard, like rock or a clenched fist. Perhaps that's why we think love doesn't include strength, just softness. We are thinking in only one dimension. That's why I think of water in all its manifestations. Look at the many ways we experience water. It trickles, spurts, floods, pours, streams, soaks, and shows itself in many more modes. All these convey evanescence, release, flow. They are all about not being stuck. Water is flexible, taking the shape of whatever vessel it flows into. It's always interacting, changing in motion, yet revealing continual patterns of connection. Water can be so expressive. It's a signal of our most heartfelt feelings. We cry tears of sorrow, tears of outrage, tears of gratitude, and tears of joy. Water can be puzzling, seeming weak or ineffectual, yielding too much, not holding firm. And yet, over time, water will carve its own pathway, even through rock. And yes, water freezes, but it also melts. And I love that passage because I think that love, like peace, is too often oversimplified. And we, Carrie and I, sort of created Seeds of Peace in part to remind people that peace is rigorous, vigorous, hard work. It's strong work. It's powerful. It can change everything, peace building work. And your work, your actions, your peace building identities will and do change our beloved community. And I want you to think of peace building work from this point forward, if you haven't been, as really strong, powerful work. And you are superheroes with peace building superpower. Thank you so much for spending these months engaged in these efforts, and really excited and grateful for your action plans, but also your work in the world tomorrow. Carrie, on to you.
Great. Thank you, Maya, and aloha kakeaka, everybody, and good morning. Thank you for spending another Saturday with all of us. To Maya's point as well, she took my first line. This is my favorite day. And the main reason is because this work is really about the ripple effects and the collective of all of the action plans that happen. So if we think about even in your own neighborhoods, imagine if every house in your neighborhood was being intentional about creating their Seeds of Peace action plan, the impact that that would make on your block, right? Or in your community, or if your whole school, right, was committed to growing peace in their environments, right? It's really and truly is that ripple effect. And we're seeing that across our boxes this morning. You are the collective for this year that has causing those ripple effects in your communities, in your families, in schools, if you're in schools, in your teams, if you're a coach, in your larger community. So we just really want to thank all of you for being intentional. Two words of inspiration, or two pieces of inspiration that I wanted to share this morning. One is actually from Thich Nhat Hanh, who passed away yesterday, that Maya mentioned. And I wanted to share with you all this book. It's one of my all-time favorite books. It's called Creating True Peace. And it's ending violence in yourself, your family, your community, and the world. And I will put that in chat. And I'm also going to put a link to Thich Nhat Hanh's story about meeting a French soldier during the French Indochina War, and his ability to connect with another human who was sent, to Vietnam to essentially kill him and the people around him, and his ability to connect at the human level with French soldiers, and how that deep connection that he formed in really understanding that soldier's fear and choices that the soldier was trying to make prevented all of Thich Nhat Hanh's community in Plum Village to be saved. And so I always think to myself, when I'm struggling with connection, or I'm struggling with my own anger or my own fear or my own frustration with other humans, if he can connect, looking in the eyes of somebody that was sent to kill him, and do it in a way with real love and intention and compassion, I can do it too. And so I just wanted to share what he says about choice. He says, the teaching of this book are offered to help anyone who aspires to lead a life of nonviolence. These practices are the living legacy of the Buddha and of my ancestral teachers. They are powerful today as they were at the time of the Buddha's awakening. Together, they form a practical manual of peace for you, your family, your community, and the world. At this time, with so much conflict in the world, I'm offering this book to help us realize that violence is not inevitable. Peace is there for us in every moment. It is our choice. And sometimes we forget that we have choices in every single situation. And so how do we all become more intentional in our choices and put peace and peace building in the center of those choices. And you've all chosen to participate in our workshops. You've chosen to be peace building leaders in the spaces that you occupy. We're all just really grateful. And the final thing that I'd like to share is from Amanda Gorman. She was the poet laureate at Biden's inauguration, and provided that incredible inspiration for us in early 2021. She also wrote a 2022 New Year's poem. And so I was just going to screen share and let you listen to Amanda, and then we will turn it over for the share out.
Can I just also say that we are incredibly grateful for all of you in our family, you participants, you facilitators, and you, Scott, who maintain such beautiful vision and trustworthy ethical leadership. So thank you.
May this be the day we come together. Mourning, we come to mend. Withered, we come to weather. Torn, we come to tend. Battered, we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been readied by it. We steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make, the moments we meet. And our hearts, once all together beaten, now all together beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric in our hearts. We hear it for old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne. Be bold, saying time this year. Be bold, saying time, for when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun. For wherever we come together, we will forever overcome.
Okay, Happy New Year, everybody. And with that, I will turn it back to Scott.
Thank you, Carrie and Maya. You folks always have the right words to say at the right time. So, echoing Maya and Carrie, thank you all for choosing to be here and for choosing to be peace builders during what I feel like are very pivotal moments for our communities. Okay, so now let's dive into our share out. So 12 of you, and maybe more that I don't know, but at least 12 of you have stepped up and let me know that you would like to share. So I'll just go ahead and call out your name and give you the floor and screen sharing privileges. Just a reminder to be conscious of time. We have enough time for each person or group to present for about 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes includes the Q&A time. So if you seem to be going a little long, you'll hear a little alarm sound off. I'm on my phone, so I hope that I can play my alarm on my phone. But just try your best to stay within 10 minutes. And yeah, that alarm will be your little cue to start wrapping up. Okay, so here we go. We are gonna start off with Jennifer Wolf-Williams. Jennifer, are you with us right now?
I am. Thank you, Scott. And first, I want to thank everyone from Hawaii for welcoming those of us from other places. I'm so grateful to be part of this group today. Jose, do you mind sharing my PowerPoint? Are you able to do that still? Thank you. And Jose has been so much help and generous with his time. I want to just say thank you to Jose as well. I should start by saying that the border regions, and I'm working in the Texas-Mexico border regions, but I want to clarify that there are millions of rich stories, and I don't want to simplify it too much with the simple set of trauma and migration stories that I'm going to share, because there's a great deal of beauty and richness in the border regions. But my work centers with asylum seekers. Next slide, please. When I came to Dallas about a decade ago, I opened a trauma therapy practice, that's my profession. And I decided I wanted to invite asylum seekers to come in for counseling. And so I reached out to human rights groups, and they referred clients to me. And what I was stunned by the lessons they taught me. So the first lesson that I learned was that asylum seekers are amazing people who are strong in their weakest moments and resilient in their greatest pain. And they are these things not just for what they've survived, but for the richness that they can bring to a new community. And but until that time comes, they really they can be suffering for a long time. So one of the stories, one of the people that's no, back to that first slide, sorry. I mean that second slide. With one of the stories that stays in my mind is a little girl who sat in my office in a chair that was much too big for her, because I normally work with adults, but this child had she had so many tears in her eyes that more tears than I had ever seen anybody be able to hold without spilling. But finally she did. And she had very few words, but the only thing that she could say, could explain to me, was that she didn't know where her daddy was. And her mother then explained that the family had fled their home country because the cartels had entered her children's school and held this little girl's brother at gunpoint and told him to let his father know that they were all going to be killed unless the father gave the gang some more money than he had. And so the parents fled with their children to the Texas-Mexico border. And somehow dad was separated from them in that process. And the family didn't know at that time where he was, just somewhere in detention, but they didn't know where. And that was only one of many stories. But what I learned from that process was that trauma therapy wasn't enough to solve the problem, because my first job as a trauma therapist was to help people learn to feel safe where they are, but they weren't safe yet. They knew they could be deported back to their home countries, or they might not be able to rejoin family members. And they were fleeing all sorts of things like political persecution and gang violence, or severe domestic violence in places where police wouldn't protect them. So they were severe issues. And instead of getting better, things got worse. So next slide. As things got worse, it was in part because of new policies where asylum seekers weren't able then to get to a Dallas trauma therapy office. And so I started crossing into the border regions and walking across the bridge into the Mexico side, where thousands of asylum seekers had gathered in unprotected tent camps and were faced by a lot of violence in that region, as well as being highly under-resourced. In fact, this tent camp where you can see a picture of me now, there were 10 porta potties for a community of about 3,000 people, and really difficulty getting access to drinking water and food. And most of the residents of the camp were young families, so a lot of small children out playing. Next slide. And I was there just to take some mental health flyers, that packet you saw me holding. I was just distributing mental health flyers because that's my profession, and that was the only thing I could think of to do. And it was a lot of self-care information and trying to normalize what they were feeling. And I came across a mother who looked particularly distressed. And as I began to talk with her, she explained that she told me, I sent my daughter across yesterday. And her daughter was 9 years old. And this mother told me that she sent her daughter across the bridge by herself at age 9 because she had been raped in the camp. And the mother explained, I couldn't send her back to our home country because the gangs had threatened, they already killed my parents and they threatened to kill me. And we couldn't go back, but I couldn't let her stay here. And I knew she could get across by herself, but I couldn't. And so it turned out that this situation was extremely common, and in fact still happens. And so this was a turning point for me when I began to see all of the integrated pieces, and I was still trying to envision the harvest. And next slide, please. What I finally came to with envisioning the harvest was very simple and yet so difficult. But the vision was just families get to stay together and everyone gets to stay safe. And the challenge of that is pretty obvious, limited power on the part of a mental health professional. But what I didn't realize, next slide, until I stopped to think about it, was that while I was envisioning the harvest, I was also preparing the soil. Because with each excursion, with each challenge at the individual level, each family I talked to, I was finding my own courage. And I was also meeting other people who were interested and cared about this work, finding a team. And so together with other people who were having similar experiences, we were able to identify a next best step. Next slide. And when we identified it, then we could plant this seed. And here's the seed that Jose actually helped me clarify, this one seed that was the key piece. The asylum grant rate overall at the time we started this work, which was about a year ago, the national average of the asylum grant rate was only about 18% for people who were not represented in court, in immigration courts, which is different from the regular court system. But some research at the national level showed that asylum seekers who had an attorney had a grant rate of about 31%. And if they had an attorney with a mental health evaluator or a health evaluator, the grant rate was 89%. And this was particularly important with mental health because if somebody has been through a torture experience and they can show a physical scar, that's pretty clear evidence. But if their scar is PTSD or severe depression or suicidality, they don't have a way to show evidence. So what we as mental health professionals learned we could do, and this has been done many times before, but we're now doing it collectively and in greater numbers, is that we could document the mental health symptoms that we observed in our clients. We could tell their trauma stories in a way that connected their symptoms with their histories. And then we could present to the courts or to the Border Patrol, whichever group we were writing for, how that interplayed with what their needs were. And usually that involves a safe environment. So with this became the seeds we were planting. Next slide. And we've already started to see quite a few results. Actually, it's been so heartwarming every time we hear of a family that got back together. So for example, a teenage girl that we were working with who had been separated from her family, they crossed and she didn't, and she was hiding out in a church where there were cartel members just outside the church, so she wasn't able to leave. But with the affidavit that we wrote for her, she got permission from Border Patrol to go join her family. Her father sent a heartwarming picture of him meeting her at the airport and their warm embrace. And there have been a family of young children whose mother was about to be deported, and we were able to document the emotional harm for these US citizen children who were about to lose their mother to a border issue. And that didn't happen. They were allowed to stay together. And so each time that we're able to take a step and see a positive result, then that makes me smile. Of course, that's why we're doing the work. And so we've actually at this point now created a whole organization to do this. We just became a nonprofit we got the notice late last summer and that we attained nonprofit status. So Jose, next slide. And that is our nonprofit, Humanitarian Outreach for Migrant Emotional Health. And now I face the hard work of learning how to nurture to sustain and all these pieces of organizational leadership. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just so glad for the opportunity to do it.
This is such important work, and I'm sure not alone in thanking you for being aware, for highlighting these stories, for seeking to help, and for utilizing the tools in your toolkit to do this work. Thank you, and thank you for sharing with our community.
Thank you, Maya. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. We have time for maybe one question. And I'm sorry, because I'm on my phone, I cannot see the chat. But if anyone wants to type a question into the chat, feel free to do so now. And Jose, if you see one, or Jennifer, if you see one, feel free to answer it. So any questions for Jennifer? If not, I think Jennifer put her email on that final slide. So feel free to reach out.
Scott, we have a question.
All right.
How long does it take for the asylum process to be granted?
Sometimes years. I've had a client who it took about 5 years, and that's one of the major challenges with the family issue, because sometimes they can't send for a child or a spouse until they've completed the process. So those who are in the camps, this process is tries to be a little faster, but it's also a lot harder, but lengthy.
And Jennifer, this is Carrie. Thank you for sharing. What really stuck out for me was your comment about trauma therapy wasn't enough and the need for a team. And I'm impressed with how quickly you were able to identify the people in a team that's needed to really support a child or a family, reuniting both via the legal system, but then also the just basic housing, right? And having security before they could receive the therapy, in a meaningful way. And so I just thank you for that. I know we talk a lot in Seeds of Peace about who's your team. And you really exemplified what that could look like. So thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, it is very much a team effort and the collaborative of groups.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. Next, we'll be moving on to, it's a pair, Maile Ate and Kainoa Arnsdorf. Maile and Kainoa, are you folks there?
Yes, we
Hi.
are. Hi.
Hi. We're
So
ready, I guess.
go ahead, Miley, start the presentation.
All right, so I'm going to share screen.
And for those of you that don't know, Miley and I are sisters, and we live on different islands in Hawaii.
Okay, so we ended up naming our project Moku Meets, and we'll get to that in a little bit later as far as what that means. Kainoa is a counselor at Mountain View Elementary, and I work at Hawaii Technology Academy, which is a charter school on 4 campuses. Okay, wait, I had to figure out how to switch to the next slide. Difficulties with tech. There we go.
No worries. Thanks, Miley. And while we started talking about what we wanted to do after watching a couple of awesome presentations on Seeds of Peace, we started reading about the Seeds, and here's our link to why we did this.
Okay, so the why. What's the why? I know.
The why you and I decided to work together was we both work at public schools here in the state of Hawaii, but we're also on different islands. And we thought it might be kind of neat for some young students, second, third grade age, to meet another group of second, third graders on another island and to start making a connection, which is one of the C's from Seeds of Peace. We wanted students to learn about what connects us, what grounds us, what makes us be a part of a family. And we're going to educate other people the same age, other students. And it's teaching my students courage, because I think they're lacking a little bit of it since we've been distance learning for a year. That's our why here on the Big Island.
So here on Maui, I work at HTA, which is a 4-island campuses, and each of us are super unique. And this year we just moved to Kie, which is kind of how do I be appropriate? Anyway, a lot of our population are transient, and so I felt like our kids weren't exposed enough to Hawaiian culture, and that students weren't compassionate towards others. Like one student in particular is a Hawaiian immersion student that came in, and he's had a hard time meeting new friends. And then to add to the challenges, some of the other kids that we have on board are really just like, they're not mean, but they're not connecting. So anyway, that was my why.
Nice, nice.
Okay. All right, next slide. Oops, sorry. All right. So in the beginning, what we did was we went into our classrooms and we introduced the concepts of mokupuni, moku, and ahupua'a. So here is just like a little nice, I think a lot of you have seen this in the Hawaii classrooms. It's a nice poster that Kamehameha Schools puts out about what an ahupua'a looks like, which is the smallest of the land divisions. Moku would be a little larger, and then mokupuni would be like the island that you come from. So we pointed out where our school is, as well as what ahupua'a. So we started out looking at the entire island chain. Keep in mind that these resources are from Kamehameha Schools. They did give them to me. They're copyrighted. They are a bit outdated. They have since discovered through oral histories. So anyway, these are some of the things that we highlighted. So Maui is our mokupuni, and our moku is actually in Kula. Kula goes all the way down to the ocean, so Kula Kai, and ahupua'a is Waiahuli. And here's the Big Island.
Yep. And then our mokupuni is Hawaii, the island of Hawaii. Our ahupua'a is Ola'a. And we're in the moku of Puna, that's our district. And I pointed out that we also are a school that's only 15 miles away from an active volcano, Kilauea. Next slide. So we started this in late October. I went into my 3rd grade class and we talked about how we're gonna meet some cool new kids on another island, and we're gonna learn about our similarities and differences. So I read this cool little book about I Am Enough, and our students, next slide, Miley, our students were able to come up with things that we're awesome at and great at. And so of course we made a little jam board, but without using technology, and did Post-it notes and Scotch tape, which kids love. And we got to write all over it of what we are good at. And we found we have a lot of things in common with our own classmates here in Mountain View. And then we started coloring our maps, and one of the kids raised their hands and said, I don't want to give my map to my new friend on Maui. I want to keep it. So I ended up having to make extra copies so the kids could take home a beautiful map of the Big Island. Go ahead, Mike.
And then at that point, we paired up the kids randomly. Kainoa did like some kind of random name generator, and we made a big thing of it in each of our separate classrooms. So then we started the letter writing process. Gave them some prompts. It was kind of cute too, because like I didn't want to tell them that they all had to start out the letter saying dear. So I said, here are some different things you can say. So, and then as far as the ending, same thing. So we had some cute ones, like one little girl ended hers, ciao, you know. So here we are in this particular, this is at HTA, and what I had the kids do was put their names on a sticky note and then put it wherever they live on the island. And for the most part, they were pretty accurate. Definitely their moku they had correct, and almost all of them had their ahupua'a as well. So you can see that we're from all over the island, which is different than the big island. And next slide. So here they are again, writing their letters. Super cute stuff. We did, you'll notice we cropped out some names to protect the children, learning how to do sentence starters. More letter writing. This one I love on the left, super cute.
And if we have time, Miley, we can play this one being read, the one on the left.
Yes, yes. He has countless chickens. He made sure to mention that in his letter.
Yes. Drew some too.
So you can see some of these. And would that be this one on the left?
Yes, play him. Legend.
My name is Legend Edwin Alexander. I live in Big Island on Eden Rock Road 8 or 9. I love animals. I love drawing video games like Subnautica and Minecraft. I live with my 8 cats and 1 dog. I have a pet spider, 22 pet lizards. I have 4 brothers. 1 is on a different island and 2 sisters, both on different islands. I'm 9 years old. I love going to the beach. My favorite color is gray. My favorite animal is a wolf. My favorite food is spaghetti. Greetings, aloha, Amelia, bye. Aloha from Legend.
Nice.
Definitely that kid is my spirit animal, because I love spaghetti too, and pets, and a pet spider would be awesome. So we have videos of the other students, but I'm gonna go to the next slide in the interest of time.
Yep.
Super
cute.
My name is
oops, gosh,
Legend
okay.
Edwin.
Technical difficulties.
Go ahead.
Yes,
not-
my name is.
The kids just want to read out loud all the time.
I don't know why it's not going forward. There we go. Was that, did I just skip way far ahead? No, this is correct.
I think you're fine. And this letter was what we sent out to parents before we started this, and a final journey, which is right now going on in the classroom, where our students will eventually get to meet face-to-face through Zoom on our school computers.
So we have come across with some difficulties. Obviously, COVID has put a big glitch into things. One of our teachers had to quarantine for, was it 10 days? It was earlier in the project. So that put things back 2 weeks. And then, so we were actually supposed to end this in December. Okay, so then we decided, well, I guess we got to continue it with the intent that our finale was going to be that first Friday we get back from school, because my students are only on campus 3 times a week, 3 days a week. And then boom, our charter school board decided that due to the raising of COVID cases, we were going to go distance learning for the first 2 weeks of school. So bummer, we didn't get to do the finale event, which the kids are really excited about.
So
Hey, my
it's-
video is not in here, Kainoa.
Mhm.
The one where I talk to the kids. Is that next?
It might be.
No, we skipped it.
Oh, okay. Go wait, hold on. Don't ask
Here.
questions yet. Here we go.
Okay,
just-
there we go. Sorry. Okay, so what was it, yesterday?
Yeah, Friday. The
I
kids
know.
were supposed to meet the students from Maui, and since Miley's school has been placed on distance learning for January, I surprised them and just said, we're going to find out how they're doing, because we can't see them face to face. So I have a surprise for you. And they're pretty excited. Yay. Are we going to watch your
I don't know
passcode?
why I can't.
It's okay.
Darn
It's
it.
So the kids were able to ask Miley about Maui. They had some amazing questions, like, what is your school like? How different is it? And one of the final questions, well, first of all, we found out Kihei Maui is very dry, like the opposite side of our island on the Big Island. We're on the rainy side. And so we have a lot of farmland. That's why a lot of us have animals. And then one of the later questions was, do you have bullies at your school? And so Mrs. Atai was awesome. She was just like, she's like, well, we have a few, but we nip it right really quickly. We listen, we find out what happened, and we teach the right thing, and we work through it and move on. So it was just cute. I mean, they have random questions at different times. Here, can we play
Let's
it?
see if it'll let me play.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
That we have.
So
Okay. All right. Fire away.
So
Ask
we
me
were gonna
questions.
just give
Mia's
you
gonna
a
come
short
stand
little snippet.
Oh my gosh, those are some big words. Yes, our students are learning big words. However, that's a great question because you know the class that you guys are writing letters with, they're actually a combined class of second and third graders. So their vocabulary is a little different for each kid, depending on what grade they're in. Yeah. Good questions you guys have.
Remember what it's called? Can you tell them the title of the school again, Miley? Is it
Hawaii, it's Hawaii Technology Academy, but we say HTA for short. Sure.
that river has
So we had about, how many kiddos came up and asked questions? About 6 or 7 of them?
yeah, sure, yep.
Yeah. So that's probably going to be similar to what we'll be doing at the finale, where we'll have each child come up and meet their new hoa, their new friend. It's fun because they're already asking questions like, is he a boy or a girl? Or, you know, how tall are they? And do they play football like I do? So we're really excited about this.
Right. Being at age 8, they're still not quite sure what else is out there. My Big Island kids, a lot of them were born here and they don't travel much. And then COVID hit 2 years ago, so they really aren't traveling at all, even off the island. But
our kiddos are kind of like the opposite. They're a little bit more affluent. And so they've been traveling a little bit. So it's such a great cross-cultural experience. You know, here they are meeting other Hawaii kids. Yes, they all live in Hawaii, but what different lives they lead, you know, and all the similarities that they have too. So
really we can open it up to questions since we're not complete with the process, but this is our action. Any questions? Or comments of awesome job, ladies?
Well, I have one of those. I really awesome job, ladies. I mean, I really feel like, you know, loneliness is not simply about being physically isolated, obviously, and your project helps to bridge, you know, communities within our community and to help these young people to name themselves, you know, have that grounded sense of place, but very importantly also to not feel isolated. You know, this is a beautiful project of connection and and recognition of our diversity even within, you know, the same archipelago, right? And culture. And plus the kids were really cute. Was my only sadness is I wanted to hear all of them read their projects of self. But thank you so much for doing the work.
Yes. And we actually didn't have very many, actually I had no parents complain about doing this project.
No, in fact, the opposite. I had a couple of parents, one that I know really well, the parent of the Hawaiian Immersion School student. She's like, this is what he needs, because he was allowed to shine, because he knew all the olalo, he knew all of the language that's used when you describe land divisions. So he was able to shine. And then the other one was another a little mahalo letter that I got, handwritten by a student. And she put on it, I love moku meats. And then, of course, she drew Seattle Seahawks, which she knew that was my favorite team. So it was like on my birthday too. It made me feel so special that you know, she really connected with that experience.
Oh, thank you so much, Miley and Kainoa. You know, the C's are really shining through in our first presentations. I'm loving the focus on connection and courage early on. So yeah, this is really powerful stuff. I wish we could keep on asking questions, but we're going to move on now. And if you folks have more questions, feel free to put it in the chat. And Miley and Kaino, feel free to answer in the chat. But thank you folks so much. Really appreciate it. We are going to move on to Lisa Krupp and Kathy Millington. Lisa and Kathy, you folks on?
I'm here, and Kathy is here as well.
I'm here.
All right, floor is yours.
Great. Okay, Jose, can you play our 2-minute clip that lets everybody know a little bit about World Citizen, and then we'll talk about our project.
Yes, just give me a minute here.
Thank you.
The story of World Citizen Peace begins with a young naval officer, Lynn Elling, who served in the South Pacific during World War II. As a witness to the carnage of battle, this young soldier knew there must be a better way, and in 1972, founded World Citizen in order to empower people to create a just and peaceful world. World Citizen Peace promotes 3 pathways to peace: peace ambassadors, international peace sites, and peace education. All of these pathways are committed to the 5 peace actions: seek peace within yourself and others, reach out in service, protect the environment, respect diversity, be a responsible citizen of the world.
Hi, my name is RJ, and I'm here living in the Bahamas. I'm on the beach collecting garbage because my favorite peace action is protect the environment. Tell me what you're doing at home to be a citizen of the world.
A 501c3 nonprofit organization, World Citizen Peace has always been funded by voluntary contributions from individuals and foundations who choose to be part of a collective impact to make the world a more peaceful place. Lynn passed away in 2016 at the age of 94, but he leaves behind a legacy. We are ready with the next steps. Our hope is that you would be a partner. Seek peace within yourself and others. Reach out in service. Protect the environment. Respect diversity. Be a responsible citizen of the world. World Citizen Peace. It starts with you.
What are you doing to be a world citizen of peace?
Learn more at worldcitizenpeace.org.
Thank you, Jose. We have some slides we put together once, and thank you, Jose, for working with us so well so that we could really fine-tune our presentation. World Citizen has been around now for a while, and when I joined them, I really loved that they had 5 peace actions. One of our directors was very clear about, and also with Seeds of Peace, peace requires action. So when we started this workshop and we learned this amazing template and the toolkit, we knew our project would be Peace It Forward. You can go to the next slide. So Envision the Harvest was really about sharing those 5 peace actions. We believe by weaving these simple actions into your daily life, we really can change the world. We also realize that it's most effective by example, by others that already do these things. All of you are peace ambassadors, and all of you are actively using these 5 peace actions just through our connection in this workshop. I can see that we share this with Seeds of Peace and with each of you. So Peace It Forward is to launch an initiative where we encourage each World Peace Citizen ambassador and also the peace sites to just share this information with one other potential person that is a peacemaker. Next slide. Prepare the soil. These templates we found so incredibly helpful because our barrier was the limited ability to reach and connect with other potential teammates. We knew the opportunity would be to share our story and our vision, and our teammates are all listed here. Certainly educators, peace ambassadors, all the peacemakers that we meet in our daily life, we know each one of us can be a teammate. Next slide. Planting the seeds is what really where the work began. We needed to have specific tools. The little video that you just watched was one of them. Over the last 6 months, we've worked to gather little clips, the language necessary to really explain who we are, what we do, and how we do it. The activities, what we're going to do when we plant the seeds is not only email marketing to our database, but networking opportunities is where we really find the same project that you just explained. When you make these one-on-one connections, the power of one is so great that we feel the networking, in addition to reaching out to our connections, will really make a big difference. Next slide. We have already shown tremendous growth. It is so exciting in the last 6 months from all of these countries listed and more. There have been peacemakers that have just found us. They've been Googling us. We weren't even ready to launch, a big effort. We've only initially started a soft program for peace ambassadors to register on our website to share a personal goal. What's your goal for peace? How do you see it? And we have just received so many, over 100 in a very short time. Next slide, and I'll share a few of these with you. They are so heartwarming to be a peace bearer and promote peace through workshops, seminars, radio, and television programs. From Zambia. From Uganda, my mission is to fight against poverty and hunger, to bring peace in my country. Most people in my country riot because of poverty and hunger, so I would like to use agriculture as a basis of keeping people busy and as an income generating activity, which I believe can end poverty and also bring peace. These are just individuals living in small communities, finding us online, and then sharing their goal that they're so passionate about. I want to be known for making music, for making the world to be a peaceful global village with my music. How cool is that? I mean, someone that just sings and has a passion for peace and wants to incorporate his gifts to do this. Dedicated music towards creating awareness on saying no to suicide. And then several educators, this is just a pinch of the goals that we've received so far. Several educators that teach peace, human rights, and nonviolence. Educator in Mexico who has the first peace building class in their curriculum. So next slide, please. What is really our goal now? Nurture to sustain. Now we have begun to start this small fire that is catching and really exciting. And we want to know now these ambassadors have shared their goals with us. Working with Seeds of Peace, we now have this template. Now we can say to the ambassador, here is something that you can use to kind of map out your own project, because we realize it was cool to find peace ambassadors, but now we want to be able to support them, to give them tools so that they can start a small project, use the same steps and see it grow, however small. We know that it can be one peace ambassador that goes viral and brings in hundreds of people and a movement that can save a whole community. So we believe in the ripple effect. We know that many of you here, on the way that we connected with all of you has really been a gift. We're so grateful. Kathy, is there anything you would like to add?
No, you covered it very nicely, Lisa. I would like to share, though, in the beginning, what Maya and Carrie both mentioned. I mean, it's right, ties in exactly with what we're trying to do. And that is to promote peace as an action. That's why we have those 5 peace actions. That's the only way we'll get to peace. And so that's our goal through the Peace Ambassador Program. Lisa is the one who brought the Peace Ambassador Program to World Citizen Peace. It has been her passion, and we're still tweaking it and anxious to have a lot of things be to be shared with us, that we can share with others. That's where we will really grow. And when Carrie talked about the ripple effect, that's exactly what we're talking about as well. One person go find one more to become a peace ambassador and so forth. And that's the ripple effect of peace. And it has been a gift to share this with all of you and to hear what you have to offer as well. We've enjoyed this class so much. So thank you so much for the opportunity, Scott.
No, thank you, Lisa and Kathy. This is really powerful stuff. And you talked about the ripple effect. Lisa, Kathy, and Ceeds we have talked about possibly expanding that ripple. Ceeds is in the process of building a train the trainer so we can train other orgs and other communities to do similar workshops to what we're running right now. So Lisa, Kathy, we'll be talking more soon about that possibility.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Any quick questions from our audience?
Scott, if there's no questions, I have a comment, but let's
Sure.
see for questions first.
Okay.
Okay, my comment one is, Kathy and Lisa, thank you for sharing. I think you're also highlighting something that's really important for this work, and it's some of the least fun work, and it's building the infrastructure for work to happen, right? So you talked about communications and really nailing down your why, and how do we communicate that? You also talked about boards of directors, right? And getting yourself established, fundraising, and even looking at frameworks. And so as you all think about your action plans and your next steps to nurture to sustain the work, please reach out if you need help with some of that infrastructure building. It isn't the fun work, but it's the necessary work for your efforts to sustain. And so I just know that you have resources available to you through Seeds of Peace to help think through, what that could look like.
Great. Thank you, Carrie.
Definitely. And yeah, just open invite to everyone to reach out to me. You folks all have my email. If you folks need any advice or support or guidance or connections. All right. Thank you, Lisa and Kathy. Let's move on to Susan Chandler. Susan, are you with us?
I am.
Hi, Susan.
Share my screen? Is that okay?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Where am I? I can't see. Oh my gosh, I'm really sorry.
No worries. There's a share screen button on the bottom.
Yeah, I see it, but I can't pick what I'm. Hang on a second. Let me try it again. Okay, I have to open system preferences. Why is it not letting me do this? Okay, I'll start talking while I do this. Can you guys see anything? No.
We cannot.
What?
Also, we can skip you for now while you figure this out on your end and come back.
Yeah, let's do that because I don't know why this isn't working right now.
Okay.
This is such a big buildup. Okay, thank you.
Don't worry. Okay, thanks, Susan. Okay, let's move on to Betty Skiles.
Hi. All right.
Hi, Betty.
Aloha and good morning, everyone. At least that's what it is here. Let's see. Let's give this a try. And see, when I click on share screen, I get it's not working for me either. I feel like I've tried this before. I don't know why. It just says desktop and whiteboard and iPhone and iPad and not what I
that's what I see
would like to
too.
Can I send a link maybe, Scott, to you, or maybe to somebody else, since you might not be able to finagle everything?
Sure. Would you mind sending it to Jose or just throwing it into the chat? And then Jose.
Okay, I don't mind. I'll throw it in the chat and then I'll really quickly share. I don't, so that anybody with the link can click on it. because nobody will be able to at the moment.
Susan, are you able to?
Sorry.
Eddie, I just requested
also
access
put it in
to it.
the chat?
Okay.
So-
I'm having.
You're
Sorry.
in the right place if it says whiteboard, just for the screen share. You just pick the, you open your PowerPoint and you pick the PowerPoint. It should have it next to whiteboard iPhone. And then if you have it open, you can pick it, just in case that helps anyone else.
If you happen to have the PowerPoint minimized, you won't be able to select it either. So you want to have it on the desktop open.
Okay, anyone with the link, and it's Google Slides, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
Betty.
Try.
Oh, I have it. I can take care of this.
Yay. Okay.
Thanks, Jose. Thanks, Betty.
Okay, great. Thank you. My goodness, after following some of those presentations, I don't know, maybe I'll back up and say this. This presentation is more about the journey and the process than about the product, because we're still kind of in the middle of our journey. And I picked this picture because to me, that's just, you know, you're on a journey, you're on a road, and that's where we are. And the Seeds of Peace is such an inspirational and wonderfully collaborative place or platform, I guess, or more than that. You're wonderful people. And the people that I work with were all very inspired with this whole process. So this will be more about the process. Next slide, please. So I work with 2 other people. I am a teacher at University Laboratory School. We're a K through 12 charter school. I am a science teacher, and I mostly work with middle school and high school. And really a lot of work with the high school with, I do peer mentorship and SEL work, and have recently been implementing mindfulness and trying to get my mindfulness certification. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Also work with Christina Rivera. She is our college and career counselor, and Dana Kitamura is our guidance counselor at our school. And so that's where we're kind of coming from. And the way we get into these things is so great at our schools. Dana will come up and say, "Hey, I sent you a link. I sent you some information. Let me know if you wanna do this." And you know, and Tina does the same thing. And then next thing you know, okay, we'll do it. All right, we're gonna do it together. And that's kind of how we get started with these things. It's very informal, and we've done a lot of workshops and things like that together, and we always have a good time and get inspired. And so I was looking forward to everything. Next slide, please. So we came to our first meeting, online meeting, and I'm sure you all remember the Find Your Anchor presentation. And it's funny because we weren't really talking too much back and forth, and it's like all 3 of us, this was our big, like, ooh, we really kind of latched onto this. Next slide, please. And so we went to that first Zoom meeting. I did want to mention Naomi. It was our leader, our fearless leader, and it was just a wonderful group of people that were in these breakout rooms. You know, in this breakout room, all of us were telling our stories and being very inspired by each other and having comments and things back and forth. I don't know, it was a wonderful group to be able to do this together with. And so I just wanted to kind of mention that. That's kind of the next part of the process. And we're all kind of brainstorming and what we can do. Next slide, please. And so I forget exactly, well, look, it's Saturday, October 23rd, right? So I left the date. Are we going to go with the box idea? Want to meet at school to talk more? And I like the box idea. And yes, think we can do a lot with it. Yes, let's meet at school. And then this is me just seeing this. Yes to everything. So it was funny because we were all kind of like, the box, right? We really liked the anchor box idea. And we're like, okay, we're going to get this going. Next slide. And so we're back into our Zoom meetings, working with the groups together, getting inspired. I want to go on to the next slide just because I wanted to mention these were some of the things that we were talking about. So I don't know if these people are presenting today. And if your project isn't up here in your inner group, I'm sorry. This is just what I kind of thought of off the top of my head. We had a geocaching idea. We had a message wall idea that sounded really great, maybe even having outdoors. Someone else in our group, I hope that she's presenting today because she's already done a lot of really cool stuff with college students. And so that's kind of representing her at the top, planting a tree or trees, and getting college students inspired and with peace building, and then a peace garden. We had someone else that was doing that. So these were kind of all the ideas that everybody was bouncing off of each other. We had great conversations. I walked away from every Saturday not feeling like, oh gosh, it was another workshop and I had to, oh, something to do. No, I walked away feeling so inspired and energized and, oh, I'm so excited to talk and do, and let's see what we can get started. Okay, next slide. So this is kind of a quick summary that I just came up with. Our idea was to, or our why, is hoping to raise awareness for mental health and to nurture and build community connections and support within our school, right? So because of our work, mostly with high schoolers and some middle schoolers too, our school is really small and tight knit. And so we thought maybe these boxes, maybe we could make it our own and have our own kind of Hawaii version of Find Your Anchor Box. And so we just kind of had that idea. We've met several times already, and we've even had approval through administration. We set up meetings. We put a bulletin announcement for our first meeting, and our idea is to keep it student driven. We just have the idea, but we want the students to be the ones that come up with the ideas of what to put in the box. I mean, obviously it'll be all the resources and that sort of thing, but just to share the Find Your Anchor Box with them and then turn it over to them and be like, okay, what do you folks think? What, how can we raise mental health awareness and also be supportive of people that are struggling through these issues? And as any of you working in school know, you're not going to make it through a year without having some kind of, whether it's small or large, it doesn't matter. The child that's going through that struggle, it's everything to them. And we just kind of wanted to raise that awareness that, sometimes people are struggling, and we want to be a supportive community and supportive for people that are going through those struggles, just as a simple school community. Not that we're, an organization or anything like that, but just, how can we as a small, simple community be able to do this? And so, as I said, we had all these plans, and then COVID hit. So next slide, please. Oh, I did want to mention there is one particular student that kind of, I think we have in mind that's going through a struggle right now. And we've spoken with parents that had issues in the past, and Dana reached out to the parent, and they said they're willing to talk and help. And then this student, Dana reached out to as well, and just asked, is there anything you'd like to, she really loves her art. This is not hers, I apologize, but it is a representation of, she drew these beautiful mandalas. And so this is like the beginning, the very first little bit. And this student is the inspiration for this, that made this. And so I kind of wanted to honor her here and mention she made these really cool mandalas that we're probably going to be implementing into the box. Next slide, please. And then because COVID, like, we were literally going to meet, and then for the last 2 weeks we've been online, and so we've postponed the meetings with the students. So that's kind of the final piece, is that we still need to have that meeting with students to get this to take off. And honestly, this is just for fun and just for humor, because of COVID, right? And all the things kind of, I like to go to humor. And I don't know if any of you were familiar with this that happened back in the day when we were doing all the Zoom calls. This was a district court meeting with a judge, and And there was a filter. Go ahead and play it. It's less than a minute. And if you haven't seen it, enjoy. And if you have seen it, maybe this will bring up some fond memories of some very funny moments. Go ahead with the video if it'll play.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to
can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here, she's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next to the.
Okay, so I hope that it's so funny that we're having tech issues this morning, and I thought that would be a great way. My neighbor and I were just bawling in tears laughing over this video, so I hope this brought some laughter to your day as well. And thank you, Seeds of Peace, for all the inspiration and a connection that you've been able to give us throughout this. This has been a wonderful workshop, and I've really enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh my goodness, Betty, thank you for sharing that. I haven't seen that. It's making me feel better about my tech issues today. So thank you for sharing that. I'm going to share it with others. Any questions? And while you folks think of those questions and put into the chat, I just want to say that there's so many things I love about your action plan. I love that you were inspired by one of our guest speakers. I love that you're inspired by a particular student. I also love that you're a science teacher, because I think many people make the mistake into thinking that peace building and SEL has to happen in certain subjects, but that's not true. It should be happening everywhere, in science class, in math class, in band class, at basketball practice, and in collaboration with others. So yeah, I love everything you're doing, Betty. Thank you so much. Any quick questions? I'm also a lab school grad, so awesome. Thanks, Betty. Thanks for representing.
Betty, just a quick question, and this might help others on the call. Was Find Your Anchor open to the adaptation for Hawaii?
Oh, that's a very good question. Maybe we should reach out. In fact, that's probably something we should do, is to reach out. We were just throwing things around, and we're still in the very beginning stages. But I think, yeah, I've reached out to a few organizations, and some have, gotten back with us, and some have not. And I will certainly make that on my list of things to do.
Let me know if you need Allie's information. I will say that knowing all the Find Your Anchor people, that they will be delighted to have Hawaii adaptation. The whole idea is that each box is meant to be unique, and it's supposed to appeal to particular communities and spaces. And although they're supposed to be universally valuable, on some level, the more tailored they are to particular communities, their view is, the more useful each box will be. So they'll be delighted to see this and to have you share.
Thank you, Maya.
I'm happy to make that introduction as well with Ali. Okay. Thank you so much, Betty. Let's move on to.
Can I? No, I was just gonna say, if we want to do, I can do mine now, because it actually fits with what she was just talking about.
Yes, please.
Yeah, perfect.
Is that okay? I'm gonna stick it in the chat though, because like everybody else, I can't get it on there. I don't have a super PowerPoint presentation prepared. These are just snippets from one I've been doing for our staff, because I've kind of been charged with we have all these different initiatives and kind of putting them together. And so I will kind of start where we started. And we're a Hawaiian focused charter school on Kauai. And we want to teach the Hawaiian culture and actually teaching everything integrated through the Hawaiian values. And our school had, can you share this, the presentation?
Jose, are you able to share it?
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Okay.
Just give me a minute.
No, that's fine.
Thanks, Jose.
I need access.
Oh, good night. Okay. Our school has this tech person who thinks that we are like this high security. So I can't, I'm going to give you access right now. Hang on. I'm even going to give you editing access because like, whatever. So I'm just going to start with our list of values. And as an educator, it's really long. And not that any one of these are not important, but they are super important. I look at it and I'm just like, no way. And I can't imagine how we would expect kids to be able to do that. So the first thing we did was, you can go to the second slide, was try to organize this list in a way that we can teach it to the kids. And not that these values fall under like, you know, like Kuleana doesn't just have these things. All of these kind of flow together and they are, you know, they could fall under each thing. But we really wanted to hit that we're being pono by following the Ailike, which is like our student code of conduct contract with Aloha. And so we kind of just talked about having our, because we're K-12, talking about pono and Aloha with the kindergartners, and then moving on to the Ohi and Kuleana and Malama, which we have shirts for our lower grades, and then adding the depth with the more specific values. Okay, that being said, now it's like, well, what are we going to be teaching? So if we go to the next slide, we've talked about how, you know, we teach the whole child. Oh, I don't see. Oh, you might have to click. I'm sorry. You might have to click because it might have transitions in it. Yeah, just click it till it's all there. We've done our, you know, we have our tiers and stuff for academics. Last year we worked on behavior, physical health is there, and social emotional. But they're all part of one tree, but they're not separate. It's integrated. Leaves aren't all of one color on one branch and all of a different color on another and a shade or whatever. You can go to the next one. So we talked about, we kind of use the tree as the metaphor, and that when all visible supports are gone, why does that tree still stand? And I'm sure this is a one that we've seen. And then, you know, roots. So you can go to the next. I want to just get through. And how do we keep those roots strong to keep our tree standing? And you can click, I think, 3 times for this one. Is our positive relationships, our self-regulation, and the Navai, which are the Hawaiian values and cultural practices. So this is more specific for our school. And then, yeah, you can go a little bit more. And then our upcoming PD, this was just again for our staff, was going to be around, I think there's 4 clicks here. Positive behavioral interventions and supports, restorative justice, and doing the mindful practices and using trauma-informed strategies. Then the next one is just about the standards themselves. So we came, instead of going to a specific program, we decided to adopt standards that are from the CASEL 5. And I think that if you go skip down to the next one, we kind of went with the state of Illinois has adopted a set of standards. And what's nice is there's just 3 goals, and it's the same for K-12 through K-12. And then there's different benchmarks for each one, depending on the grade level band. And because it's developmental, there's a lot of overlapping between grades. So we wanted to have something that could be taught again in any subject. And it's not something that, because for so long it was SEL was done when the counselor came in and was a specific program. So we wanted something that we can incorporate in everything. So you could go to the next one. And so the kids see the same 3 goals and the same 10 standards, K to 12. And just as we were talking about with the piece, you've got yourself, others. Anyway, if you click on that other one at the bottom, this link, it'll take you exactly to the standards. And I can just show you, because even though this came from the state of Illinois, they did not present it in this way. And it was very difficult to figure out how they put it together. So I put it together like this. So if you go to that link in the bottom, does that open up? Please tell me that opens up. Okay, request access, I'll give you that too. Oh my goodness. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
No worries, Susan. It's the theme of today.
I'm like the water, and I'm just gonna like roll through these boulders in my way.
Yeah,
Okay.
no worries. I take full responsibility for these tech. I'm not sure why everyone can't share their own screen. This would be much easier if you could. So
yeah. But this is, this is okay. So we have the 3 goals. And then, so like goal 1 is identify and manage one's emotions and behavior, recognize potential qualities, qualities in themselves. So a lot of what, the projects you guys have already been working on, what are the things that you're good at? And then demonstrate skills related to achieving personal and academic goals. And we want to still do these through teaching the values. So if you look here, this performance indicator thing, there's stage, between A and J. And in kindergarten, we don't expect kids to be further developed than the A. And you can see here how they kind of overlap grades in the bands. So what's considered, it's okay to be where they are, but we do want to, we will be evaluating kids along this continuum as well. So if you click on the bottom, the second tab, okay. So this is the goal, is to develop self-awareness and management skills, and the stages are across the board here. So K to 3, and then stage A will be identify emotions, happy, sad, surprise. The things that we do in kindergarten. But if you look at what that means to a 11th or 12th grader, is explaining the consequences of different forms of communicating one's emotions. So like it's going to be a lot more in depth. It's going to be a lot more applicable to that age range, but still the same goal. The individual reporting is, we've come up with a little rudimentary thing that we're going to be adding to our report cards. We also put in a half stage, because all of this is subjective and we really want to try to make it as meaningful as possible. So can they do the things in one stage, some of the things in the next, but not all of the things in the next? That's a half. So that's that piece. The next step for this was to have that standardized assessment piece. And I know the DOE has provided the panorama, which is, it's a tool and they can tick their box. But it's students self-reported, and just based on what we see, because we only have 200 students K-12, we know them pretty well, and seeing how some of the kids self-report is very different from how we know them. So we actually wrote a grant to be able to get a screener that's aligned with the CASEL standards, and specifically to the standards that we have. And it's DESA is the name of the very short little assessment. And there's resources through this company to target specific lessons for specific skills. And I think that it's going to complement this very well. We just got it. DESA it's DESS. I'll put it up there. I'll put the link in there in a little to it. It's through Aperture is the name of the company. And you can get the DESA on its own. I think it's through, I want to say Pearson maybe has, but this takes teachers' assessments and they're very short to be able to determine like where kids are and what areas they need those supports and what those next steps should be. And there's tons of resources, a lot from programs we already have. And it's not just one particular program as much as us being able to identify exactly where our kids are and how to bring them to that next step. And we do want it to be something that is school-wide. So the next evolution in this piece is our school, the commission, and I think Kamehameha schools have come up with these Kahua standards, which are broken down for like language arts and math through different areas. Like one would be sense of place, sense of belonging, sense of community, and sense of responsibility. And so what we're going to be doing is taking all of our standards, academic, social, emotional, and otherwise, and put them into those areas. So it's going to start with sense of self, sense of space, sense of belonging, sense of community, and sense of responsibility. And the idea is that at the end of this, we're getting a bigger picture of who these kids are, if that makes any sense. Okay, I'm done. Because that's about where we are.
Thank you so much, Susan. I'm seeing a couple questions in the chat. Do you want to try and take about 30 seconds to a minute to try to tackle those?
Oh, unique needs. We have lots of unique needs. We also have available, we have our counselors, we have a social worker, and we're always outside the box thinking of how we're going to meet our kiddos' needs. Our whole school is about, it's a Hawaiian focused charter school, and we're in Anahola, which is a pretty poor community, but it's all about community renewal as well. And what can we do to help support the community of Anahola? And I think that one of the things we can do is get these kids to a different place so they're ready to not to share their culture with other people and other cultures and be able to interact outside of Hawaii or Kauai itself.
Thank you so much, Susan. Yeah, there's so many challenges in integrating and combining and respecting all of the different resources available. You mentioned Castle, Nahopena A'o, and then all, Panorama and all these assessment tools. So I really appreciate how you are trying to bring it all together.
We want it to be purposeful. I don't want it to be seen as like something else added to the plate rather than just changing the plate. You know what I mean? Like all of the standards, it's all based on the values and these goals. Everything is, you know what I mean? Supports those things.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Susan. Thank you so much for sharing. And Susan, feel free to put your contact information in the chat so others can have more questions if they have. But thank you so much, Susan.
Thanks.
Next, we are going to move on to Ashley Johnson. And Ashley, if you are unable to share like everyone else, please share the link in the chat so Jose can bring it up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Scott. Hopefully I can share. I'll turn this on so it's not so loud. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay, well, I want to start by just saying, kind of echoing what Betty said, but I'm so grateful that there's this amazing organization with the sole selfless purpose of spreading peace. And I think we can all tell it's a very special organization led by really big-hearted people. And that's been the most amazing thing, is to connect with all the people in this wonderful group, and that are pushing us to do more and contribute more to our communities. And so I am Ashley Johnson. I'm the founder of Mohala Eyewear. Just to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm here, but we design inclusive eyewear, and every pair sold sends a girl to school. And we got into Nordstrom All in One recently, which I was so excited about. And I came to Seeds of Peace through meeting Maya at the room with my nonprofit partner, Room to Read. So we have donated 80 years of school to Room to Read through our mission to donate 1 week of school for every pair of sunglasses sold. And Maya also works with Room to Read and her Girls Opportunity Alliance. So what I was thinking about with my action plan are, how do I use my strengths to help my community, and what am I passionate about? And I am passionate about empowering girls, as you know, through my social mission. And so I wanted to do something with girls in Hawaii. And so my strengths are, I used to be a district manager for Foodland and a director of human resources. So my strengths and my network is, business executives and female and male entrepreneurs. And so I want to build a 9-week mentorship program. Sorry, I just have to move these controls around, for girls and non-binary people around the profile of a graduate, which I learned about from a principal. And each session will teach a skill from the profile list, such as confidence building, can-do mindset, transferable skills like communication, adaptability, and collaboration, and really a program designed for girls interested in entrepreneurship and business leadership. There we go. We would meet once a week for 9 weeks. We would meet during lunchtime, and 2 to 3 girls would be picked from each grade by the counselors with the goal of creating a diverse group based on ethnicity, socioeconomic background, and academic scores. My thought is to bring the girls in the program together with executives or female entrepreneurs that are building fashion brands or jewelry brands, or food brands, and have that speaker share their 15-minute career life journey to give the girls a roadmap of how these women reach these career goals, and to expose them to different careers and opportunities available to them. And then to keep the girls engaged, play a game that rewards girls for listening and getting the key points. And then use the next 45 minutes to do an activity directly with the participants that plays off the speaker's story and the profile of graduate. So they walk away from that 1-hour session learning a new skill, practicing that new skill, and hopefully able to apply that new skill in their lives. And that is it. My very short one compared to everyone else. But I'm ending with questions, but more with help. Does anyone know of an intermediate or high school that may be interested in this program or be open to working with me on it? And my email is ashley@mohalaeyewear.com. And I would love to connect, and I would love to get my program going.
Woohoo, thanks so much, Ashley. And we have a meeting on the calendar this coming week, so we'll definitely talk more. But yeah, this is an audience of 35 public school and educators. And I think there are probably a lot of students that you folks can think of who could benefit from a program like this. So yeah, feel free to chime in the chat. If there are any questions, feel free to ask that now. I also just want to highlight, like, this is why we do the work we do. I think it's so cool that we just had a bunch of educators and nonprofit people. Mm-hmm. And now we have Ashley coming from the business side and building peace where she is. So thank you so much, Ashley.
Oh, thank you. I love all the positivity in the chat. And I will send you a flyer, Carrie. And thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Any questions? Okay.
There's some questions from Stephen about, are you going to do this at IAEA Intermediate and High School?
Yes, I have been talking with IAEA, and I'll contact Stephen directly for an update on that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Looking forward to our meeting this coming week as well. Thanks for sharing. Okay, moving forward, we have Steve Chinen, one of our former Ceeds facilitators and this year first-time participant. Hey, Steve. Do you folks see Steve on?
He came on briefly and then the video went off again.
Oh, okay.
He's back.
Okay. Steve, can you hear me? Okay.
It looks like he's having some audio issues, Scott. Maybe we could move on to the next. Oh, no, he's on.
Is that the video keeps on going off and on?
There, we can definitely hear you, Steve.
Okay, I'll just start. Let me put my timer on. Mine is really short, and not that we're in this comparing business, but it's just small time compared to everybody that's gone on. It's so wonderful and inspiring to hear what everybody is doing. For me, I'm going to be doing something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but just the timing wasn't right with other kinds of responsibilities. But now that I'm retired, yay, I volunteered to be a big brother with the Big Brother, Big Sisters. I haven't been matched yet, but I've done everything that's required to do. And it's a understandably long vetting process. I think because I'm 67, maybe they're having a hard time matching me because they want the little brothers want a big brother and not a big grandpa. But I don't know, I'm still waiting on that. With my intention was to hopefully make a positive impact with one child. You know, that adage, one person at a time, takes a whole village to raise a child kind of thing. So with this time, however, I'd like to talk about, I'm substitute teaching. I go regularly to about 5 schools, and I'm really enjoying it. It's I go to any school, elementary, middle, or high school, and I'm doing my bit in trying to share being peace within and peace with others, and using the Aloha spirit and belly breathing to promote peace within and peace with others. For those of you who may know me, I've been diagnosed with rainbow obsessive disorder because I love rainbows. And I got my Ceeds shirt, Scott and everybody. Can you see? And I put a rainbow on top. Anyway, I wrote this SEL curriculum, Rainbows in Me, Values of Aloha. And whatever time I have when I'm substituting, I promote the definition of aloha being treating all people, including myself, with love, empathy, and compassion. We work together, play together, and help each other, especially in this time of COVID and rising mental health needs. I want to emphasize having aloha for everybody and including ourselves. And belly breathing or mindful breathing or deep breathing is, to me, it's a really key ingredient in finding peace within oneself, among other things, of course. One thing about, I also tell the kids, this drawing here, I don't know if, can you see this? Scott, can you see it? Too far?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Each line, each color represents a group of people from everywhere in the world who has moved to Hawaii, beginning with the Kanaka Maoli, the native Hawaiians, 1600 years ago from the Marquesas or Tahiti, Marquesa Islands or Tahiti. And I say that my grandparents moved here from Okinawa 114 years ago. And of course, other people have come from around Oceania and Asia, China, Korea, Vietnam, Samoa, Tonga, and then Europe via the mainland or just from Europe, or the European countries, from Africa, South America, everywhere. And only in Hawaii do we have so many peoples of different colors and cultures and ethnicity. But because of aloha, we're like this. Can you see the rainbow? And although we're far from perfect, of course, nowhere have I been, nowhere have I read about, do so many different people learn because of aloha to get along with each other, to work together, to play together, and to help each other. So that's what I tell the kids why rainbows mean so much to me, rainbows and aloha. And how am I doing on time? Okay, I'm doing good. One of the things in the Rainbows book, and this is all to promote peace, as I quote on the cover of the Rainbows book, is Auntie Pilahi's well-known quote that the world will turn to Hawaii as they search for world peace, because Hawaii has the key, and that key is aloha. And as Maya and Carrie and Scott reminds us all the time, it's a long journey. So I like this story of Mr. Daruma and the Daruma doll. This is a Daruma doll originating from Japan, but popular in Hawaii. And I wrote this secular version of the Zen Buddhist legend about the Daruma. And I hope you can see this, but a long time ago, there lived a man in Japan named Mr. Daruma. One day, Mr. Daruma had a terrible accident, and in order to save his life, the doctors had to cut off his arms and legs. Mr. Daruma, of course, felt very sad. Later, after thinking about it more, Mr. Daruma decided to adopt a positive attitude. Yep, he said, I no longer have my arms and legs, but I can still enjoy life. I want to always do my best and be everything I can be. I will never give up and quit. I will set goals for myself and work hard to achieve them. From that day on, Mr. Daruma lived a great life. After 8 months of very hard work, he was able to swim again. On that day, a beautiful rainbow appeared. Today, because of his positive attitude, the story of Mr. Daruma's life is famous in Japan. In Japan, they have special dolls called Daruma dolls. Like Mr. Daruma himself, the Daruma doll has no arms and legs. When you knock the Daruma doll over, it always gets back up, always. This is called the Daruma spirit, and people in Japan say 7 times down, 8 times up. People buy Daruma dolls to help them reach their goals and live successful lives. They color in one eye of the Daruma doll when they set a goal, and they color in the second eye after accomplishing the goal. 7 times down, 8 times up. That's the Daruma spirit. So, of course, this applies to everything and anything in life. But for us here at Seeds of Peace and all the other projects we're doing, it's a good reminder that, as Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And everybody here attending and in past years through Seeds projects, we do what we can to not give up, to support each other and not give up, so that long arc of the moral universe continues to bend towards justice. So I applaud everybody that has gone so far, and I'm sure after I'm done. And thank you, everybody. Wonderful work. Aloha. Okay, opao.
Thanks so much, Steve. Steve, you're the youngest, coolest 67-year-old I know. So any little brother would be really lucky to have you. But
Okay.
also
I'm waiting.
yeah, for also sacrificing your hard-earned retirement to be a sub right now, during when we're so short on teachers and subs. So it's really admirable. And for everyone who doesn't know Steve, that really represents who he is. That's I wouldn't expect anything else of Steve, actually. So thank you so much, Steve. Any questions? And I did notice one person asked for your email. So Steve, if you could put your email, the email your chat.
I'll do that right now.
And
It
Jose,
looks like you have a little brother, Jose.
Huh?
It looks like you have a little brother. Volunteer.
Steve, you can be my big brother any day.
Oh, Jose, okay.
Yeah.
all right, thanks so much, Steve. Any question? Okay, looks like we're good. I also just wanted to add that Steve actually makes his own Daruma dolls. He gave his old a red plastic Easter egg, and he puts this heavy washer at the bottom, and it actually works. And my daughter, it's in my daughter's little toy chest, and she plays with it all the time. So
good.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, moving on. We have 5 sharers left, presenters left. Let's move on to Deborah Von Nacher.
Hi.
Hi, Deborah.
Can you see?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you. And I am teaching a peace education class and looking for material for my class. That's why I come up with you guys. And actually, I also found Lisa, and I think I am the Mexican teacher you were talking about. And I just want to thank you because of these cards, the Peace Ambassador cards. I love them. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of context. I am teaching this, I'm teaching a high school that is part of a university, and we are in the same campus. And I'm teaching for 12 grades. I'm teaching this peace, it's an optative class, peace education. And it's kind of, they thought that I was like the hippie one and very idealistic. But now it has grown, and I have to thank my boss because she says yes to everything I ask. And so here I am. And the toolkit that you guys have, it helped me a lot for my classes, because what I did last semester was to tell the kids about the cosmovisions, about war and peace, and telling them that violence is a construct. And because violence is a construct, we can build peace with ideas. And at the beginning, the kids were a little reluctant, but then now they understand, because we analyze cartoons, we analyze TV shows, and now they are peace ambassadors. And we were talking, there were 3 modules in my class. It was peace within, and then it was peace with others, conflict resolution, and another one is peace with my community. A little bit of background, I'm an engineer, but I have a master's degree in conflict resolution, so that's why I'm doing this. And this semester, these guys, my students were very, very into peace within on mental health, and they were very, very into saving the planet. Peace of the community, it was about the environment. So thank you to Betty and Naomi and everybody in my group. I was thinking, okay, let's make a peace garden. That's peace within and peace with the environment. And that's what I'm doing. This peace garden, well, the envision, it was to create a sense of community by taking care of ourselves and the environment. And I had to change the mentality that you are on your own, and in order to be a peace ambassador, you have to be Malala or a Nobel Prize. And I'm telling my kids, hey, you can do it 1 action a day and with 1 person. So here is the peace garden. We had the opportunities the barriers were like, I don't know enough about plants and reforestation. And this idea that, oh, like, peace is for hippies, nobody can do it, this is a violent place. So those were my barriers, but the opportunity is that I have, with the university, they have a student group that it's called Project 25, and their mission is for each person in the world, if they each of us plant 25 trees, we can save the world. So they are the ones telling us the know-how, and they are the ones telling me which plants, because I don't want to mess up with the environment. So they are the ones with the know-how. And also I have all the support from my school. And who are my teammates? Well, my students, the student association, the school administration. I have a public school that I will talk about it a little bit, the local government, and cultural practitioners. And what I did is, okay, let's do this peace garden, and I need the money for the plants. So we had this pottery workshop, and that was last week, and a local artist came to my class and taught us how to make pottery. And at the beginning, my students were like, what does this have to do with peace? And I'm like, oh, inner peace. This is for your mental peace. And we did it. And so we already have the base, and they are drying. And next week, with the architecture department, they're going to give us the oven so we can cook the vases. And we will have an auction to sell the vases. And I'm thinking maybe the parents will buy that, because I don't know how it's going to come up. Okay. And then with this money, we're going to buy the plants, and then we're going to make the garden. And so I have the pottery, the wheating, and then there is a museum in the city that we're going to create the auction. And then we are going to plant the trees. But also, a colleague, he's teaching a class about climate change. So we are going to work with a public school, the kids in 6th grade. We have a mini congress a whole week, and my kids are going to teach those kids peace education workshops about anxiety and about peace in sports, how sports can help you with your mental health, but also like to stop fighting, when you are fun, like here, like soccer, every time there is a soccer match, people get really like angry with each other because you go for another team. So they're going to teach the kids that it is a game and it's supposed to be fun, and you do not fight with others. And while I am going to be teaching, my kids are going to be teaching peace education, my other colleagues, kids are going to be teaching climate change to these 6th graders. And that's what we're going to do. And where are we? Well, hopefully we're not going to get, COVID, like we're supposed to have the workshops next month, and hopefully COVID wouldn't ruin these plans. But right now, we already created the vases, and those are some of the pictures. That was on Monday and on Wednesday. And it was really fun because it was in the open space because of COVID. And there were students from other classes coming, and they were like, what is this? And why I'm not doing this? And now they want to take the class. So I think my kids relaxed and other kids wanted to join. So I'm really happy about it. And this guy here on the right, he's a handful. He's really sweet, but he's a handful, and he really enjoyed it. And he's so into teaching other kids about peace. And the coming soon plans, as I told you, the workshop for the sixth graders is between the 21st and the 25th. Hopefully COVID will let us do that. The basis auction, it will be around March the 14th or the 18th, and the reforestation and the Peace Garden is going to be on April the 23rd. So that's it.
Well, we love all that you are planting in your garden, actually and metaphorically. Gracias. I really think that, we would love to participate and stay informed about all of these upcoming opportunities. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. I will be posting everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. And yeah, I just wanted to echo what Carrie wrote in the chat. The whole students teaching students thing, I think, is really, really powerful. So thank you so much for creating that platform. Are there any questions from our audience? Okay, if not, I also think it's so cool that you've already linked up with Lisa and Kathy. And maybe that's not even because of Ceeds' workshop. I think that was just by chance, right? So it's really cool. Those connections are just happening naturally. Okay, thank you so much, Deborah. We have 4 more presenters. I'm debating if we should take a short break right now because we're doing really well on time. Let's do that. We've been going for 2 hours straight. Let's take a 5-minute break, okay? And let's come back at 11:06. 11:06. All right, it's 11:06. Please start making your way back to your computer. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are on the tail end of our Shareout portion of today. We're going to move on to Melody Cabreros. Melody, are you on?
Hi, yes, I am.
Hi, Melody.
Hi.
Floor is yours.
Okay. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep, we can see it.
Oh, okay, so I'm Melody. I'm a counselor at Kapolei Middle School. There are some amazing presentations, of course. It's a little intimidating, but Kapolei, like that area, it's just obviously everyone knows kind of like the second town on Oahu. And so just wanted to put an aerial view of kind of it's a very diverse at Kapolei Middle School. It's very diverse. We serve many different cultures and students, and obviously there's lots of just diversity. So our student population is comprised of Pacific Islanders, Asians, Caucasians, Hispanics, and African Americans. And obviously within that, there's lots of diverse home lives. And as a middle school, it's a really tumultuous time with physical, emotional, mental, personal, friendship, all the social changes that go on. And so at my school, and I'm sure at a lot of schools, it was really important that social emotional learning was going to be kind of a staple for all of the students. So we do implement it in our exploratory wheel class. So all students, so it's not just like some kids, so all students, including like our SED students and our like FSC classes, they receive social emotional learning skills during the first quarter. And that kind of stuff, we do coping and peer relation, time management, all those kinds of things. But as we all know, students are all different. And so the teachers and the counselors know that there are some students who probably benefit better from smaller group settings to learn these types of skills. They may also start to show the signs of maybe they need a little bit more intervention. So I got together with my teachers, and I had a few students, they had recommended that maybe might need more support with these skills beyond just like guidance classes. So they provided me with some names. And so I put together a small boys group, social skills boys group. I also just thought for boys, it's especially coming out of, when we're still in COVID, but kind of coming back to on campus, it's been a lot different. I feel like girls have a little bit of easier time communicating like at home and at school with like friends, but I feel like that connection has really been lost with the boys. A lot of them are like on video games and they're not really communicating. So I felt like a boys group would be really good. So and in that group, that's the goal is to just kind of allow them to reflect on their behaviors and then build courage by conversing with people that they don't really know and building that relationship with other people, and then hoping that they can use these skills for outside of the group once it's finished. So that was the plan. And these were just the standard kind of the things that we would be working on. So critical thinking, decisions, skills, self-discipline and self-control skills, effective collaboration and cooperation skills. And so obviously the students and the teachers have been really helpful to, have them come to me weekly so that we can meet, and they do miss some class. It's not like a core class, but they are missing some class, and being understanding that sometimes those students don't necessarily need to be in the classroom all the time. I think they need to be in some type of a smaller environment where they're getting these skills. And then the parents of the students, it's really important to make sure that the parents understand that this is just providing these students with extra support. And then my administration. So it's a social skills group. So we address various skills throughout each week that we meet. We are currently working on control and understanding that we have a lot of power in that. And so this started in November, and so November, December, and then there was break, and so we're back up again. So this is just one of the lesson plans, which I will show. One of the lesson plans that we did, which is self-control. It kind of took over a few meetings, but the activities of understanding self-control strategies, and them kind of talking about it, and like these are what are ways that, you know, something happens, or these, when we are presented with these daily scenarios in our lives, what are ways that we can practice self-control. And then another activity was actually pairing up scenarios and talking about it, which these scenarios were very kind of similar to what they actually experienced in like in their, like at school, in their classroom, or even at home. So they were able to talk and communicate about that. And then it was Jenga, and that was fun because the students were able to play, and that's something like hands-on, and having them realize that Jenga is actually very like similar, or you can really relate it to self-control. That one of the students in there was he was trying to like tell people like what to do, and I was like, hey, you need to wait, you need to like, and that's the part, right? Like allowing people to make the decisions first, and hoping that they can make a decision correctly. So it was good. That was fun. And so there's like a debrief and all that. So that's kind of what we do every week. I meet with them for about 30 to 45 minutes, and we go through those lessons. So these pictures are just of them doing the Jenga game. So like I mentioned, there's just key social emotional skills that I present that I think every student needs, like self-control, recognizing, communicating, and coping with emotions, and conflict resolution. At the end of each skill, to just for being at a school, it's really important to measure. So I do give exit tickets and to see if they've understood the skill. And then at the very, very end of group, which will end probably in about, I would say, 5 weeks, we'll have a time to kind of reflect. So from their pre-survey that they did in November until after their post-survey, and they can kind of reflect and see if there was growth from the beginning to the end of their group. So these are just one of the examples of like the self-control. So asking questions like, what is self-control? Why is it important to practice it? And then what is one way you usually show self-control at school? And then beyond this, I do hope to continue it. I would definitely monitor these students. Like I said, they're a little bit higher in needs. They have specific, the teachers have already kind of pointed them out with some specific concerns. So I would obviously still monitor them from time to time. Classroom observations, get teachers' input to see if this group made an impact for them, and hopefully it did. And then also I do hope to continue with smaller group settings. I know that teachers continue to ask for these small group, like they ask for groups like a girls group or a drama group, those kinds of things. And I think they're all great ideas. It's just sometimes as a counselor, it's really hard because there's so much to do, and there's not always enough time to just dedicate 30 minutes for the students. So that's the hope, just is to continue and make it more of a norm each year that there's at least some type of group going on for at our school. And then also just hoping maybe that these students can be used as like facilitators for future groups or peer mentoring. It just by chance happened that one of my students in this social skills group is actually peer mentoring another student in another group. We have a Japanese student who does not speak any English and is obviously transitioning from Japan, and he's adopted all these kind of changes to this one student. And my student in the social skills group like speaks Japanese, and it really worked out that I was like, hey, would you be able to mentor this like student because you speak Japanese, and obviously there's lots of issues with it's difficult with language barriers, and he was willing, which he doesn't talk very much, but he was willing to do it. So hoping that, yeah, these students in these like small groups can be used for other programs or whatever it is at school. So yeah, that's kind of a snippet of what I'm doing for my school.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Melody. As Brad alluded to at our last session, counselors wear so many hats, and you just revealed even more hats that counselors wear. Also just wanted to comment that I love how you made these activities fun, like implementing Jenga into the lesson plan. I think is just really cool, and maybe it doesn't feel like learning, it just feels like fun, right? They're learning in the process.
Yep, exactly.
So, yeah, thanks so much, Melody. Any comments or questions from our participants in the chat?
Scott, there is one question about how did you recruit the students?
Yeah, so I actually there was 4 of them because of COVID. It's hard to put more than 4 in an office area, but I actually had teachers that we were kind of talking about these students since the beginning, but I explained to the teachers that it was important to get data. So after that, after trying to implement like parent conferences and stuff like that, they were still showing some concern. And so that's where I think the teacher input was really helpful. They were able to tell me. So by October, I was able to solidify the group.
Thanks, Melody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Okay, let's move on to our next speaker. We have Jason Alexander.
Good morning.
Hey, Jason.
Let me just get the slides from the browser and share. Okay. No, that's the wrong share. Okay. Wait, so I don't have many images. Sorry about that. But I've been working on a more artistic type of project, and have been helped by group members, especially with encouragement about getting more momentum to the actual creative practice and preparation for actually making some musical products to be able to share with people. So the title that I came up with seems kind of too flashy, but musical mobilities for activist album project. Mobility is kind of the theme of some of my research at University of Hawaii. So basically I want to make a compilation of songs or musical pieces to both be musically pleasant to listen to, but then also teach about or raise awareness about some social issues, like child displacement, as we talked about at the very beginning of this sharing session with all the inspiring work. And as we're having a lot of online venues for sharing artwork, I could use some of those, and then some other in-person venues are also maybe becoming possible, like on campus or theoretically in other settings. But this is kind of a long-term thing to work on outside of my research as a graduate student. Okay, so for just going along the steps in this action plan process, it's helpful to outline, after I came up with a long list of values, as we were looking at in other people's educational plans, I had all these theoretical ways to try and shape the project, but concretely, there are some difficulties like confidence in my own musical skill when trying to sing or do violin with multiple tracks in a recording of some covers of some songs. I need to practice, and I also need some confidence to keep up the practicing. And also it's a bit difficult to find space on campus that doesn't bother other people with like the sound, especially like living in this campus space. But pushing through that, then it's also been a bit difficult to network and find other artists to do a multiple person cover. So it's not just me, it's other people with different instruments, and different styles and approaches would enrich the overall creative output. And then otherwise, for the new digital spaces, there have been some like benefit concerts or informal artwork showcase things on other organizations' websites and other venues than what I was originally thinking. It was just to like upload things to YouTube and then have like links to organizations related to the thematic content, like fundraising for displaced families along certain border areas in Southeast Asia. But yeah, there seem to be a lot of opportunities to actually share the music once it's actually made. So the making part would be important. And to do that, you need friends who can provide feedback and say, hey, does this sound good? And then be like, no, that's kind of needs some more work. So having them is useful. And then also lots of other artists I've been trying to locate as the new semester is starting. And hooray, we're going back to in-person. I've also been able to join one of the actual choir classes, which will be helpful for practicing that repertoire, which has some nice themes of like revitalization and some uplifting themes in that group setting of like 20 to 30 people. So other music students who are more professional than I am probably can help with learning how to practice that. And then other organizations can help if I like try and see if there are things that could be collaborative, transnational benefit concert type things later on. Other inspirations have come through the kits on the Ceeds website, looking at like peace offering concept of just offering up small little pieces, like even if the music isn't really highly produced or has like fancy effects or fancy audio mastering and such, the concept still argues that it's good just to put some effort into sharing, even if not many people see it. And there's other musical people like doing collectives between various artists globally. There are also some like large scale choir projects that work for a certain number of months of certain themes. So maybe I'd be looking into joining some of that later on. But otherwise, there are also some arts spaces in Honolulu that I found, like Sakura Arts Collective in downtown. And then there'll also be like some events on campus later on. So for sustaining is the next one, isn't it? Yeah. It's difficult for me to kind of keep a steady practice schedule, but I've been working on strategizing about how to actually practice and then push myself to like record drafts and then critique it instead of just trying to be perfectionist in the beginning and then not really make any progress on the art itself. And main thing is to enjoy the process. And then eventually, if it's enjoyed enough, then the product itself will be better and more uplifting to the people who actually see it, because the artistic energy would be more genuine, I think. And it would show in the art as a whole. So examples of the stuff that is on my growing list of things I want to like try and cover. There's things like this is a song in Japanese they found in an archive, but it was like 1970s, and this song was published in a newspaper, translated from a song that people were singing in Thailand as part of protests against military violence. So if I covered it, then it'd be like a third layer of solidarity or something, sustaining from like the 70s and reviving it today. This is a more ambitious project, this video here by Jung Jae-il. He did music to Parasite, as you might have seen, talking about class issues in South Korea, but then also this is talking specifically from like children's perspective. and trying to reconnect with families and such. But this would definitely need multiple people on it. So this is more like a dream of how to accomplish this kind of piece. So like pieces on the top left, that could be like an incremental stage and then working up and getting more skill and doing this kind of thing. I could just keep adding new pieces to the collective album or collection. Then there are also things like water crisis. And I've been trying to find like ways to express artistically to that current intensely local concern. So this was a couple weeks ago, there was some banner drawing and trying to replicate the Olei Kauai water symbol that's been created. But I haven't really found a musical way to express things related to this. So that's kind of also in progress, but there's like a push towards multitasking, both the original plan or like the list of songs that I was thinking, the themes that I could cover. And then if other like critical breaking news events come up, then I kind of just need to stay flexible to see if I can like reorient or reprioritize the order of the pieces to try and raise awareness about things that are more pressing for people in my local network compared to people like farther away in Asia Pacific, but also facing a great deal of suffering. So anyway, if this music is making any progress at all, that'd be good. But I don't have anything to share right now. So sorry if you're looking forward to any audio clips. Yep, that's basically what I have to present. If you have questions, it'd be great. I'll go back to this maybe.
I love it. Thanks so much, Jason. Yeah, I was really looking forward to hearing a sample, but keep us updated, please. Love to hear what you got a little later. I'm also really glad that you discovered the work at the Peace Studio from, I'm guessing you discovered it from our co-op toolkit. And that's another organization co-founded by Maya. Maya, I don't know, do you want to say anything about Peace Studio?
Sure. I would say that it shares Seeds of Peace mission to kind of bring dimension of action to peace building and sort of everyday commitment. And it is focused on supporting artists, creatives, and journalists of all kinds in their peace building identity development. We give a platform, a space for them to share arts that are inspired by great peace builders or highlighting peace builders. These are creatives that may not have seen themselves as creatives yet. For instance, someone who was wrongfully incarcerated for many years will write about it in poetry or prose, and they're a creative. Someone who is houseless, similarly, it's about telling stories of peace building all around the world and restorative narratives. So please, if anyone would like to be involved or to be aware of our workshops and webinars and talks, go to peacestudio.com, and we look forward to having some cross-fertilization.
For sharing that, Maya. And Maya, is it .com or .org? Let me just make sure we got that. .org. Okay. peacestudio.org. Okay.
Yes, and can become one of our creative peace builders as well. Who gets mentored and participates in action plan development and curriculum.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Maya. Okay.
Yeah, Jason, I just want to make one comment. I really appreciate, it's interesting because we haven't had a lot of musicians, when I reflect back, they're working to design music for impact. And I'm even thinking in our schools, we have, most of our schools have music programs. And, how do we really inspire our music leaders and those that are teaching our students to think differently about the songs. I'm harkening back to complaints that my daughters had about the choice of their chorus songs that they had to sing. And I'm sure we've all been there, but just really powerful. And thank you for sharing where you're getting your inspiration from.
Yeah, thank you. I also saw, if anyone knows Jane Addams' Hull House in Chicago from like 1910s, 20s, there was, I think Eleanor Smith was a composer, and they made a series of songs about children working in factories and trying to be free from that. And there's like in the little collectives of like youth groups at that Chicago area, they were like working on those songs directly like related to the children experiencing those conditions.
We cannot have movements for social justice, for human rights. We can't really have any sustained community action without music to inspire, and instruct. It's really vital, as are the other arts. It is through storytelling that we come to care, after all, right?
Yeah. And Jason, thank you so much for signing up for our workshop. Like Carrie said, like we haven't had many musicians involved in what we do, so this is really cool. Thank you for being here, and thank you for presenting. We are down to our final two presenters. Next up, we have Barb Larson-Taylor, and I think Glenn will be joining Barb. Barb or Glenn, are you folks on?
We are.
There we
Hello.
go. Hey, Barb.
All right. So hello, everyone. I'm Barb Larson-Taylor, and I work at Gustavus Adolphus College, which is in St. Peter, Minnesota. And I'm joined by a coworker and friend, Glenn Cranking, who's professor of history and Scandinavian studies. And he is the director also of our May Day Peace Conference. And in my role working at Gustavus, I coordinate our institutional events. And this college where we work happens to be the alma mater of me, Glenn, and Carrie. And we are really thrilled that this year for our May Day Peace Conference, that Carrie and Maya will be joining us. And so what we have spent our time with during our sessions is working with Carrie and Maya, trying to learn more about their work and what we could do during this time together for our community with them. So just a little bit about the May Day Peace Conference. It was founded at Gustavus in 1981 by some local philanthropists and intentionally named May Day as the international distress signal and also as a call to action. And their initial vision for it was to inspire attendees to work for justice and peace throughout the world. And Maya and Carrie and Seeds of Peace seems like a logical guest for us to come and be with our community for this year's conference. The history of the conference, you can see some of the past themes that we've had. It's really similar to, as we think of like some of the initial work in those early days when we were learning about Seeds of Peace here, and how peace is really, it's stretching through all parts of people's lives and all parts of the globe, so some of the early conferences were about arms control, in the nuclear age of the 1980s, but then, wide, lots of other topics, land use and climate and capital punishment and the role of student activism in leading social change. So it's really taken a lot of different shapes over the years. So this year, we are thrilled that Maya and Carrie will be with us in April, and the website is listed there. And we have formed a full day with them that we are labeling Growing Peace Builders. And the day will, I forget the next slide, Glenn, is it the goals or is it our schedule? Yeah, the goals. Our goals. Yeah, goals. The goals for the day, and as we envision the harvest for our participants. So we are a small liberal arts college of of undergraduate students that are kind of traditionally aged of 18 to 22 years old, and trying to think of what could happen in a day, and I think a lot of times when we bring in a guest, it is people thinking they're listening passively. And so we really wanted people at the end of the day that were participating in some part of the day to feel empowered to work themselves for justice and peace, for people to leave with some tools that they could use to act, and not just to sit and listen, but to really think, okay, what can I do with this information? We wanted to elevate the upstander upstander principles that we have learned about here, and skill building, and really connecting to resiliency, hope, and their, especially as these undergrads, their future leadership out in the world. So the day will take on a morning extended, about an hour and a half of time for Carrie and Maya, planting the seeds of peace building, talking about, the work here that we've been learning about, but really also focusing in on a couple of seeds, knowing that we can't, as we've seen, we can't do everything that we've experienced over several sessions as a group here in an hour and a half. So really kind of narrowing in on just a couple of seeds. And then in the afternoon, some workshops, and actually later in the day. So really thinking about both the gifts of Carrie and Maya, but also our community. And so one workshop about beginning peace building and education and youth development. We have a strong teaching major, education major, and also a strong psychology department and child development. And so we thought that would be something that would really be aligned with interests of many of our students, and especially with Carrie's work. Another workshop on climate justice and peace building. As someone else mentioned earlier today, climate justice is really on top of mind for many of our students, and we wanted to link these two together and have really more actionable, some more actionable things that students could walk away from. And we know both Maya and Carrie have done a lot of work in this area. And then I think in our planning, we were all pretty excited about this last workshop, the activists staying steady in the storm, is how, as young adults, then going out into the world, and they're maybe passionate to go and live and work for social justice, how do they stay resilient? How do they keep passion without getting burned out? How can they do this work over the course of a lifetime? And we're excited to, it's not something that I think as young leaders, they often don't think about it, and they do get burned out, and they already can start feeling it even in college. So I think trying to give them this opportunity to at least put a few tools in that toolbox for a lifetime of activism. So that's our day. Glenn, please fill in other things that I've missed.
I can say that this is part of our spring semester. It's one of our signature events at the college. Our class schedule is modified, and so there are no classes that are held between that 10 and 11:30 time period. And then the 2 afternoon sessions, we've tried to time them to correspond with our class schedule, so that hopefully students can attend. We're also reaching out with a lot of our student leaders and trying to get them involved in some of this. We'll have a dinner between the afternoon session and the evening session, and specifically reach out to them so that hopefully they can connect with Carrie and Maya and really learn and soak up everything they can that Barb and I have been doing for this workshop. Barb, is any of this going to be streamed? I believe the morning session will be streamed.
I think the morning session will be streamed. Carrie and Maya, I don't even know I think we talked about that. I can't remember if we talked about it. We would love to stream the morning session. And so you can keep an eye on that website as we come to May and share it with friends if you want to see a mini version of Seeds of Peace that you can share with your friends.
And it's a central time, so early morning, I guess, for those of you in
Right,
Hawaii.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Barb and Glenn. Oh, sorry, go
No, I
ahead.
was just going to say, it's just been really fun to work with Gary and Maya, and it's just been really, really an honor to be a part of this workshop series.
We're honored to have you as partners and friends. You're truly wonderful in the work that you do and your clear commitment, both of you, to students and young people.
Yeah, and I also want to share, it's interesting to fast forward. I'm going to date myself here. What is it now? 25 years? More than that, 30, 35 years from my undergrad years. And for me personally, that's where all of this work started. And so I just want to reinforce for all of you how impactful you are to the young people around you. And you could put them on life trajectories that they didn't even know were possible. And that's what Gustavus has done for me. And it's just such a gift. And I feel so humbled to be able to go back and share with the now undergrads and the faculty and at Gustavus. I also think that this is an example, we often talk in Seeds of Peace about culture change in our families, culture change in our schools, our classrooms, our sports teams, our music programs, right? Our communities. This work is really about culture change. And I love seeing, a school like Gustavus think about where are all of those opportunities to integrate and connect the dots and reach the students where they are. So this has been a real gift. Thank you, Glenn and Barb, for your interest.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you mentioned the streaming thing. We would be happy to share this on our Seeds of Peace streaming platform, I guess Facebook. So just let us know how we can do that and what time, and we'll definitely do that.
Great, thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Barb. Thanks, Glenn. Okay, and now we have our final, but if anyone else wants to step up and share after this, then by all means. But our final share is Laura Viana.
Aloha. Hola.
Hey, Laura.
I will be turning off the video because my internet is a little bit slow today. And Jose will be sharing my slides. Thank you. Okay, so I'm Laura or Laura Viana, and I'm currently based in Argentina, but I will be transitioning back to Hawaii soon. And since I'm transitioning back there, I thought it would be a good time to start something new. And what I want to do is this project that I named Conectar. Conectar is the Spanish word for to connect. And AR also stands for Argentina. I wanted to add in the HI somewhere, but I couldn't figure it out. So what I would like to do is to establish a hopefully sustainable online intercultural and educational and cultural exchange between Argentina and Hawaii, which are two very remote places relative to each other. They're both at the end of the earth. And I don't know of any other opportunity for visualization of where I'm at. So as you see, I'm very far right now. And if you can go back, Jose. So it would be a unique opportunity to connect Argentina and Hawaii, which are also my two homes since I've lived in Hawaii on and off for over 20 years. And my idea is to connect either English language schools or English language classes in regular schools in Argentina with Spanish classes in Hawaii. Again, for this unique opportunity to connect these two communities. And one of the opportunities would be for Spanish speakers to practice English and for English speakers in Hawaii to practice Spanish. Some of the barriers, but also opportunities, is the time difference. We are 7 hours ahead in Argentina, but I'm thinking I could connect evening classes here with daytime classes in Hawaii. Some of the issues is technology and internet connectivity, which unfortunately down here in the Southern Hemisphere is not very stable. But we could kind of get around it with both synchronous and asynchronous activities. And what would I actually be doing? This project is actually inspired in a program I participated in many, many years ago when I was teaching in a Honolulu school, participating in a program, State Department program, Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, that were connecting American classrooms to classrooms in countries such as Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, the Palestine territories. And we were doing online collaborative learning. At that time, it was a long time ago, so everything was asynchronous. And they also had the on-site portion. So I got to host a teacher from Bangladesh. Students also got to travel, both American and students from other countries. Myself, I got to travel to Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh also. But my project would be more of a peace, would be more of a peace angle, or would come from a peace angle. And what I'm thinking is doing oral history projects, for example, where we'll be studying topics like the Falklands War in Argentina, which was a war over the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands. It's in the map, but it's very, very far south of Argentina, and it's illegally occupied by the British. And also other topics like that World War II, both in Pearl Harbor and Argentina, overthrow of the Kingdom of Hawaii, and other topics. And also other examples could be social movements. The most famous one in Argentina you may be familiar with is called Madres de Plaza de Mayo, the mothers of Plaza de Mayo, which were the mothers who were looking for the children that were disappeared during the military dictatorship from 1976 to 1983. And another famous movements both in Argentina and Hawaii, as well as indigenous movements in both countries. So that's kind of the main idea. And how I would sustain it. First, I need to fundraise for technology, but in general for the program to keep running. Teacher training, expanding I'm thinking of starting it as a pilot project, connecting just one school or one class in Argentina with one class in Hawaii, but I would like to expand it so that other schools have opportunities. And in the future, of course, if we could have an on-site portion for teacher students where they can travel, that would be great. And also offering some type of university academic credit or extra credit so that students are inspired to participate in the program. And that's it. I'm in the very early stages. The ideas are there, but I'm in the very early stages. So thank you.
I love this, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing. I think there's a lot of promise. And like I said to someone else earlier today, this is an audience of 35 educators. So yeah, educators out there, please get in touch with Laura, either in the chat or Laura, if you want, do you want to leave your email in the chat so they can contact you?
Definitely, I'd love to connect with whoever is interested.
Great, great.
Oh, I just sent it to Jose only. Hold on, I'll just.
In the meantime, does anyone have any questions for Laura?
Thank you for the lovely comments.
Okay.
Although
Thank
Paula,
you so much.
I've heard of her, but I've never met her. No, I actually may have met her like over 20 years ago. I may have met her at the beach once over 20 years ago. Is she the she was married to somebody who was teaching at Punahou. That's what I remember.
Yes, that's Paula.
For 20 years ago, but it was just a brief encounter at the beach.
Yeah, she used to be on our board of
Oh,
directors for Seeds of Peace.
oh, where is she now? Is she still there in Hawaii?
She's still here.
Oh,
And she works in education with educators, so she might be a good connection.
oh yeah, I'd love to get in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, she's the head of the executive director of the Hawaii After School Alliance. So yeah, culturally great connection, but also, yeah, she's got a lot of contacts with educators and educational programs. So let me know, Laura, send me an email and I can make that introduction if you'd like me to.
Definitely. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Awesome. Okay. That's everyone I had signed up for the Shareout. Is there anyone else out there who planned to share or would like to share? We've got about 8 more minutes, so we have time for one more short one if anyone would like to. Okay. Last chance. Okay, let's move on then. So yeah, that's the end of the share out portion of our session. Just wanted to say thank you again to all of those who stepped up and volunteered to share. You know, the passion and the expertise of you all, as well as the diversity of your action plans. It's just also inspiring. It's a real privilege to learn from you folks, and I hope we can all kind of rally together and rally around all of your action plans and support as much as we can. And I just want to echo, just say again that yeah, please feel free to reach out to me and Maya and Carrie, your facilitators. If there's any way we can support and help and guide and connect, we'd be happy to. That's why we're here. Okay. We are gonna let's take another 7-minute break. Let's come back at noon to wrap up with our final 45 minutes to an hour. And after we return at noon, we're gonna do breakout rooms for one final time. And during this time, you're gonna have the opportunity to kind of wrap everything up with your group and with your facilitator. And one thing I've asked all of our facilitators to prioritize during this time is to have all of you to try to complete at least a draft of your action plan framework. So it's what you saw a lot of our participants sharing. It's the one that you started on day one. And the reason is because we'd like to keep a record of all of these. So it's really important to us that at least a draft is complete. As soon as you folks come back from your breakout rooms, I'm gonna kind of walk you through how to upload your action plans into our, what we call our co-op toolkit, just so it can kind of exist forever on our website. Okay, so let's take now a 6-minute break. We'll return at noon and we will immediately break you folks out into your breakout rooms. Hi everyone, welcome back.
Okay, too bad.
Okay, welcome back everyone. I would like to share my screen right now because I want to teach you folks how to upload all of your action plans onto our co-op toolkit. I thought the best way to do this is just to do it in real time and you folks can kind of follow along as I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And yeah, you folks, if you folks want to, feel free to open up your browser on one side of your screen and head to our website, www.seedsofpeace.org. Okay. www.seedsofpeace.org, and you should see this site. Okay. You're going to hover over Co-op Toolkit. And And then you're gonna click contribute a peace building resource. Okay, and it should bring you to this screen. Now it's pretty self-explanatory from here, but go ahead and let's just do this right now. Let's take the next 10 minutes to just go through this right now. And we might not be able to put all the detail we want to, but I just want to make sure you folks know how. So here you can put a resource title. So I'll just make something up. Scott's Super Action Plan. Here in this resource URL, what we want you to do is put the link to your action plan. Okay, so all of you folks built an action plan in Google Slides. Hopefully it's public, but if it's not public, go ahead and make it public, and then copy and paste your URL here. Okay, and let me just say that I know for some of our DOE participants, you folks weren't focusing too much on the action planning template. That's okay. For now, you can just, because it's a required field, just put seedsofpeace.org if you don't have anything to put there, just to fill something in there. Okay. Then you're going to describe your action plan here. So maybe, in 3 to 6 sentences, go ahead and just give a brief summary of your action plan. So let me give you 2 minutes to just start typing. You don't need to finish it now. You can always click submit after we're done. But yeah, I'll give you 1 minute just to start typing something there. Okay, I'll let you folks finish that after we sign off. We encourage you to put an image. So you can put an image of yourself, you can put an image of your school logo, you can put an image of your organizational logo. You can even just put an image of a nice flower or something that you like that represents your action plan. But something visual. Yeah, that's something you can search for later. If there is a video URL, so maybe folks shared videos in the Shareout today, feel free to copy and paste that URL here. Now, resource type. This is important because our participants will be able to filter through resources, including action plans. So since we're inputting our action plans right now, I want you folks to all click action plan. But if you think it fits under other resources, like maybe your action plan is a course, or maybe your action plan is is creating a book or website, you can click multiple. This just helps people to filter in the future. Okay. Then we want you to filter by Ceeds pillars. Your program might be all 3, but maybe it's something that just focuses on, say, meditation, right? So you just click peace within for something like that. Same thing for Ceeds values. Click all the ones that you think your action plan hits. And then same thing for topics. Look through a bunch of these topics and click as many as you think falls under your action plan falls under these particular topics. Okay, I'm sorry, I know I'm going fast, but this is something you can finish after. School subjects. click as many as you think are relevant to your action plan. Same for age and grade range. The format of your action plan. Is it something that's online? Is it a video? Is it an app? Is it an audio? I'm sure most of your action plans have some sort of online presence, so that can kind of be like the default one, online. And location served, if it hits any of these, go ahead and click these. At this point, we're not expecting you folks to charge for anything you do, so I'm assuming for many of you, this will be zero. But if there is a price to the curriculum you've built, or you know, whatever you've created, feel free to put some sort of price there. You can say here if it's copywritten or not. Here, this is more for external resources, so you can leave these two blank since these are since you folks are creating your own action plans. And if you're part of an organization, put that URL here. If not, you can just put either your school's URL if you're part of a school, or you can just put Seeds of Pieces URL. You can skip these two because you're working on your own action plan and you've already named it. And then you want to finish by putting in your name and your contact information, your contact email. And then when you're done, you're going to hit create new resource. And what that's going to do is it's going to send a form over to me and our Seeds team. And once it looks good to us, we will hit publish and it will be public on our co-op toolkit. Okay. And I know it's a lot to fill out and I apologize for that, but it's important that we do this because it helps us to kind of filter and helps people be able to find your action plans and, you know, based on what they're interested in looking for. Okay. I know I went a little fast, so what I'm also going to do here is I am going to put two links in the chat. One is a video tutorial of what I just explained. The other is a PDF quick guide. Okay, so that first line is the YouTube. That second link is the PDF quick guide. Okay. And again, I just want to emphasize that, yeah, it's really important to us to be able to track a lot of these action plans. In past years, we would provide this workshop and everyone would leave and we would have a record of some, but then a lot of people would leave without really updating us on where they left off. So yeah, this really helps us out to kind of track our impact and provide a resource to other future participants. Kaino, your question, sorry, I missed it. Is one action plan enough or two? Are you talking about for you and Miley?
No, I'm saying, do you want both of our action plans that we're working on?
Sure, we love both, yeah.
Or do we just
are they the exact same thing or are they different?
We're gonna make our different, so it's but it's the same, but it's tailored to our schools.
Awesome, yeah, put them in as two different ones then.
Different ones, right? And then I was just thinking maybe you guys would be nice and just let us pick our favorite one. But no, it's fine. We can upload both.
Honestly, totally up to you. Whatever you are comfortable with uploading. Yeah,
okay.
I'm not necessarily going for quantity here. We're going for quality. But if they are different, I think, yeah, we should reflect them as two different ones.
Okay.
Beautiful background, by the way.
That is a sunrise in the back of our campus in Mountain View.
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, does anyone have any questions about this process? Okay. Holly, I noticed you had a an announcement for DOE teachers. I'm assuming we cut your group off a little early. Do you want to unmute yourself and just explain that to the teachers?
Yes, thank you. COP teachers, please go and review your Google resource folder, especially the draft check-in document, to see how everything is aligned and connected. And also note that I will be sending out an email for our February 5th session, along with the Zoom link for our individual sessions with each instructors. And this is going to be at your official DOE Google email at k12.hi.us. So you should be able to receive it next week. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Brad, Nicole, do you have any final announcements for counselors? And just to give everyone else some context, we have community members and DOE participants. The DOE participants have sort of a different set of requirements, and they actually have one more session after this one. So this isn't the last session for them. But Brad, Nicole, do you folks have any final announcements for our counselors?
No, Scott, we got everything before you cut us out.
Awesome, sorry about that. And Brad, do you folks have one more session as well? Or is it just Holly folks?
No, we do.
You do, okay. Sounds good. Okay.
Scott, sorry, there's some confusion with my group. Can I please clarify?
Yes, go ahead.
COP teachers, you are not required to do the Ceeds action plan because we have our own, and that is called your portfolio requirements, because we are DOE credit based. So you do not need to do the Seeds of Peace formal action plan that you notice that our community speakers did for their presentation. At a later point in time, when we have scored your portfolios and it's been a success, then we deliver it to Seeds of Peace so that they could see what type of school level action plan you did in your school and in your classroom that connects to the Seeds of Peace 7 seeds.
Thank you so much for clarifying that, Holly. And yeah, when Holly folks grade it and it comes back, I will send out an email to all of our DOE participants asking again if you folks can fill out that online form with information from your portfolio. And we really hope that you do. Okay, thanks so much for clearing that up, Holly. Okay, so here we are in our final, feeling kind of sad right now. These are the final moments of our workshop series for this year at least. Again, DOE educators, I know you have one more session, so but this is the last one with all of us together, community members, DOE, all of our facilitators, and Carrie and Maya. But before we depart, I just want to make a few announcements. So the first thing is keep working on your action plans. Just because the workshop series is done, it doesn't mean our work as peace builders is done. The majority of your work as peace builders will happen outside of this Zoom room. And we are looking forward to supporting your action plans moving forward in any way that you'd like us to. I've said this so many times, but I want to say it again. Please email us. You have my number actually in the email, so you can text or call me. Reach out to your facilitators for more support. Yeah, no question is a bad one, and we really want to help, so please reach out. And two, I mentioned this at the last session, but I just want to say that, again, this is a free workshop we're offering to the public, and we try our best to offer everything we run free, just so we can kind of eliminate those barriers to entry. That said, we do rely on public support to do so. So if you are feeling generous and you do want to support us, feel free to visit our website. There's a donate tab in there. There's also our Ceeds store. So you saw Steve wearing our Ceeds shirt. We have lots of, we have shirts, we have hats, we have tote bags and other stuff like that. And the proceeds do go to, and there's a site, to supporting our program. So feel free to do that, rep our stuff. We think it's a pretty nice new logo. So we hope that we can see it around in the public. So yeah, feel free to purchase a shirt if you can. And for the final time, we are gonna do our Zoom waterfall. So I'd like you folks to think of one word that kind of sums up how you're feeling right now. So what's in your soul right now? And go ahead and type that word in the chat, but do not hit enter yet, okay? So type that word in the chat, but do not hit enter yet. Okay, everyone got that word written down? Okay, count of 3, you're gonna hit enter and it's gonna waterfall down the chat. 3, 2, 1, hit enter. Awesome. I'm just gonna read a few of them. Inspired, collaborative, relieved, inspired, hopeful, calmness, excited, grateful, steady, interbeing, I was gonna say interesting, interbeing, that's a great one, Maya. Grateful, thankful, content, motivated, inspired, grateful, inspired, reflective, appreciation, gratitude, rejuvenated, hope, hungry, me too, Stephen, grateful, gratitude, encouraged, excitedly overwhelmed. I think that's a good thing. Inspired, focused, excited and peaceful, excited, wow, gratitude, grateful, peace, motivation, grateful, and love. One more, unbelievable experience. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Because I'm struggling so much with my tech, I don't have the survey link with me right now, but I will send that over to you folks via email. We'd love for you folks to fill out that final survey just to let us know how we're doing. But otherwise, thank you folks so much. Welcome officially to the Ceeds family now that you've finished one workshop with us. And we hope there'll be other opportunities to work with you folks in the future. Carrie, Maya, any final words before we officially say goodbye?
Carrie,
I would say, oh, go ahead, Maya.
There you go.
Yeah, I just want to really, say mahalo to everybody. And my word for the year is steady. And so just to encourage all of you that in this work to stay steady and to stay centered, because there's a lot of disruption. And so that would be my words that I'd like to leave you all with. And just, you guys are the bright lights. Continue to shine and continue to activate the lights that are around you day in and day out.
Nicely said, Carrie. I just wanted to also offer words of mahalo and thank you for your courageous efforts. Thank you for courageously presenting today, but also for your brave work in the world. We know that it is not easy to be an educator. It is not easy to be a mentor, guide, model, and you folks do all of those things with great integrity and creativity. And we are deeply thankful to have you in our community and family. This has been fun. And thank you again, Jose and others for tech, and Scott for always setting such a beautiful tone. And thank you, Carrie, for your partnership. And thank you, all of you attendees. It was fun. Keep in touch.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, keep in touch. And Jose did put that final survey in the chat. So please click on that survey. It really helps us out in our funding and just making sure we're doing a good job. Okay. But thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you folks. Welcome to 2022. Let's make 2022 a little better than 2021.